Hey, what's going on, everyone? I'm Shots by Lou. I'm a Bay Area based photographer. You guys can check out my work on Instagram at shotsbylou.1 and also on my website at shotsbylou.com. Today, we're going to dive into Adobe's Lightroom. So, Adobe Lightroom starts out like this. You can go to Import up here on top. If you have your hard drive attached to it, you can just go straight to it. Click the name of the client you'd like to work on. Today I'm just going to work on an old photo. We're not going to dive too deep in the whole Lightroom process. We'll just touch on a couple of the most essential features of Lightroom. So every photo has a check. Click the photo you want, uncheck everything. Click the photo, click it, and so we started. Just to start out the back, Lightroom is very essential for any photographer. One of the main things about Lightroom is this ability to attach your metadata. What your metadata is, all the information about you, the model, the photographer, the camera you use, everything attached to it. So let's say, hey, tell a friend to go on Google and Google shots by Lou dot Christina's work. They would type that in, and then blam, your images will pop up. So you can edit it however you want. So right now, this photo has my metadata attached to it. So I click on this button to maximize the image, and as you can see, it's super overexposed. This is an early photo, don't judge me. I'm kind of a beast now. That's also subjective, but you know. Anyway, so these tabs you can click. They, if you hover over it, it'll let you know exactly how much it will go down by. So it'll let you know it decreases the exposure by one stop. Go up, increases it by one stop. If you click the middle one, it decreases the exposure by 1/3 of a stop. So with that being said, if ever you're lost in the sauce and you don't know where you're at because you can't get lost in the sauce, you just double click exposure and it'll go right back to the beginning. So what I'm going to do straight from the bag is lower the exposure, just to play around with the exposure, how low you want it, just to see exactly what are the different looks you can bring about with it. My style is a little different, so you know you can't really go off of my style. Do what's comfortable for you. Same thing with clarity. Clarity just boosts up a lot of colors, sort of gives it a more. It increases the detail to me, just a tad bit to me. Kind of sharpens things. I like that. Yeah. Vibrance just goes ahead and boosts all the colors around. So as you can see, me click Vibrance. The detail. See the coloring. See, so right now. I ain't even going front, that's kind of decent. But I'm just going to double click and go right back to square one and just do everything all over again so that I don't get lost. And at the end of the day too, there's other features in Lightroom that you know you can alter the colors, so don't just depend on Vibrance for if you want to boost up your colors. Just there's saturation, there's your tone curve and your color panel. So up on top, you'll see these beautiful tools right here. This is just to this is the crop tool. Crop your image what size you want it at. This is a spot removal. This to, let's say your client has a pimple somewhere. You can click it, bang, it'll go somewhere. We'll probably just be covering these two for today. So right off the back, here are the temperature tool. So increase that way. It looks super hot. Down, see, it looks cold. Like one of those. What is that from Game of Thrones? Those, whatever. Okay, I don't watch it, but I saw 2 episodes and it was pretty dope. Anyway, so the type of look for today's purposes, we'll make it a little bit hot because it is hot as fuck in the Bay. It's like a heat wave right now. Same thing with tone. Tone just messes around with the colors as well, but I ain't gonna mess with tone, so I double click that. Contrast, not the way I want to go, so I'm not even gonna touch contrast. However, these highlights though. Let's say you have more detail in the foreground that you want to really show, you can bring down those highlights and it'll show all right here. Because then if you increase the highlights, you really can't see it too much. So we'll bring it down just a tad. Maybe, okay, that's not a tad, that's a lot. But over here, in this window, the navigator, you can see exactly the changes that are being made. If you want like a more zoomed out look, and then with your mouse, it has a little plus. You can click it, wow. You can work on a certain area and see how it's looking on your model. And then you can also click it to zoom out. Shadows. we might bring about. I'm just gonna like really over exaggerate everything just for this video's purpose. Now it's up to you as a photographer and what type of mood you want your photo to give across to the viewers. Because if you edit too much, it is possible to over edit. You can jeopardize the whole image. Like, I don't know if y'all remember this, but her outfit was green when we started out. Now that shit look black. But it's cool because that's the look that I want to go for, and do what I want. If ever you get too lost and you're like, damn, what did the image look like from the beginning? You can always click this right here. It's basically before and after, so it'll let you know like how you started and where you're currently at. And you can keep it up here as you edit too. You don't have to, necessarily have one or the other up. I just choose to have one up because then I'm gonna go crazy. So Vibrance, this is that color one that we went with. And I'll keep it right there. That looks kind of dope. Saturation, I want to mess with that. I don't really want to make a like a little minion color. That's not what's popping. But wherever you from, the minion color may be in, So I'm not judging y'all. I'm gonna give her a little tan with the saturation, and then we'll scroll down to the tone curve, RGB, red, green, blue. So there are a whole bunch of different techniques. I recommend every photographer just utilize this tool just to get familiar with it, just to play around with it. This basically touches on everything in the upper half of the photo. This touches on everything in the lower half of the photos. There's a little style that I've been using lately. It's like called quote unquote crushing shadows. So you'll put your 3 dots in the center. So you'll have 5 dots all together. No, those two examples. And then you lift up this one, and then you see those shadows kind of like graying out. Yeah, it's called like the crush. Yep, see, that's what you don't want. Yeah, so it's called like the crush shadows look. And you can raise this one up just a little bit. And at the end of the day, when you utilize your tone curve, you always want this like little S. You always want the curve to show. That's sort of like the telltale sign that everything is all right and you haven't gone astray and ruined it. So once again, you put your dots on it. So for the RGB, I'll put 5. But for the rest of the red, blue, and the green, I'll go ahead and I'll put an extra dot right here. This is like my safeguard. It prevents me from going like over it, like too overboard. And just sort of kind of fall in line and try to mimic exactly what you do with your RGB for the most part. Even if it doesn't look like it's a big change, like a big difference, and like, I mean, it's cool because it's what you want to do. It's your look, it's your style. You don't have to jeopardize your style for someone else's approval. Like, oh, you barely touched it. Like, nah, I barely touched it because that's what I want. Like, barely not touch your own photos, if that's the thing. It is a thing, because I said it. Anyway, here goes my 4th dot. I'm gonna go ahead, increase the greens. Lift this one up. And for the most part too, like if you're going and you're like, damn, it's starting to look real bad, you can always, if you have a Mac, you can press Command Z and it'll go back and undo what you just did in the previous one. This is the homie Chris. I'll leave her information in the information section. And also add that 4th dot again. Lift up that blue. Now right here, it should change the color of the sky. See that shit? It made the fucking sky bluer. It also made the ground a little bit bluer too. And then let's say you still want to do some more work with the colors. You can also go to these individual color pads, and everything that's red will change. Everything that is blue will change. So like, let's say blue, right? You just mess with that. We see how the sky is changing now. This is how a lot of photographers change the color of the sky sometimes. So me, because blue skies are so cliche, I'm just gonna bring it down to a little turquoise. Turquoise, is that a word? Probably not. Saturation also deals with like how strong you want that shit to be. And for the most part, you don't have to touch all 3 tools within the blue section. Like, I don't want to touch the luminance, so I'll just double click. And then the split tone and curve, this is fucking awesome. It helps you color in things like the highlights. Double click, see, bam. So only the highlights are having color added to it. So whatever look you want to go for, whatever color you want your highlights to be, I'm just gonna do this for like little tutorial purposes. So I'll keep that at 20. Wow. And then I go right down to the shadows. So now we're just gonna play around with the shadows. And let's see, we can have it like that. Yeah, it's kind of. And then this is the sharpness, how sharp you want your image to be. It could be super sharp. Look at that. That's like too sharp for me, so I'm just gonna keep it at my 25. And this luminance tool. Okay, so now it looks hella smooth. At least I think so. Let's see how so you can see everything. Like a lot of, whenever you increase this luminance tool, a lot of the sharp edges that you had become like, you know, you kind of increase that factor of losing the sharpness of your image whenever you raise that luminance tool all the way up, because all of those edges will become super smooth and sleek and it won't look sharp. So I always keep it around like 10. So also it helps me better edit too. And then there's a distortion. What this does is, like, let's say you get those models that are like, can you like make my stomach smaller so that I don't look like how the photo looks? I'm like, sure. So you will click this one, go like that, and bring it to the right, squeeze it more. So we're just gonna do this just for, like, you know, the video purposes. Chris really doesn't need any of that stuff. Click on the crop, and for Instagram purposes, you can only really use up to use 4x5s or 8x10s. For magazine purposes, sometimes they'll be like, oh well, we want a 8x11, and you know, you can still use this. So for all around imagery, you know, 5x7s are like those little picture sizes that your mother has on her desk at work of you back in kindergarten. Even though you're 28 years old now, you've given her plenty of updated pictures of you, but she still uses that one. You know, I'm not really venting, but anyway, click 4x5. And right here, like I said, in the Navigator app, you can see what's going on. So I don't want these shoes in the picture. So what I'm gonna do is edit the thing out. So this is, to me as a photographer, this is like the hardest part, because it's like, this is what everybody sees. Like, depending on how you crop this photo is how everybody's gonna look at this image, you know. And you want as much of the image to be in the photo as possible. And then you go to done, and that's that. And let's say you see how these little edges right here look too sharp and there's nothing really going on, and you don't want people to look at them. This is when your post-crop vignetting comes in. You scroll all the way to the left, you see that darkness come in. Damn, now they ain't even looking at the size of your pictures. Like, damn, them shit's super dark things. You know what I mean? Looking at it from here, but the photo looks super dark, and yeah, you can't see anything. Unless that's your style, you know? It's not mine, so yeah. I'll bring it down to -10, and now it looks like C has on all black. That's cool, I guess. Grain is here to make your photo look a little extra gritty, you know? A couple of photographers do that, like Orangutan does that on Instagram. Let's see, so that's basically everything in this section. So the spot removal, for example, let's go to this small right here. Click on the spot removal. If you have an iMac, just like on the upper half of the mouse, just like scroll up and down, and that increases the sizes. Or you can go right here and increase the size if you don't have a Mac. If you have a PC, I'm pretty sure there's some other stuff, but I ain't got a PC. Hashtag Apple Gang all day, every day. Anyway, click, and it'll take a surface from another area of skin, and it will cover that mole up. Now what you want to do is get an area of the skin that's closest to where you're trying to cover up, because that skin texture will be the same and people won't be able to spot it out from a mile away. I think that's dope right there. Yeah, we're gonna keep that. Then you go to done, and then, you know, you can still see it, but sure. Actually, you can't. Like, If I ain't show you that, you really wouldn't have known that it was there. Like you really wouldn't know it was there. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So from here, you would just go to. Actually, let's go right here. You can see the before and after. Bam! Look at the before and after. That shit's so much different. Like it's not that overexposed anymore. You can actually see a sky. You can actually see the tops of the buildings. You can actually see the background. What else? You can. I gave her a little tan because he was looking a little pale-ish. You know. Also here, if ever you guys would like to, like, you know what? I don't like color. I want to make this photo black and white. Here is your capability to do so. Up here, black and white. Like, ow, look at that. That's just from the beginning. If you freshly import the photo, you're like, I know I want this photo deep down in my heart to be black and white. You just go straight to black and white. Command Z, it goes back, and then let's say later on, as you finish editing the photo, you're like, you know what? I think this photo will be best as black and white. Then you can click this black and white. It'll be black and white again, and you can tweak the adjustment layers how you see fit. And I click Command Z because I don't want it black and white. Even though some photographers love black and white because they feel as though everything else, aka color, is a distraction and it takes away from the photos. That's really like poetic and cute, but like nah, like I want color in like 70% of my photos. So from here, you go to export, and then you just click your folder for like let's say you're getting published, and you know that's when these little um, settings would come into play. You would want your resolution to be 300 ppi, and you can tweak the width height from here as well. But then you can see if you want it to come out as JPEG, your color space, you always want that to be sRGB. And yes, that's about it. If you guys have any other questions, you can mention it down in the comment section below. Feel free to comment and let me know what things you feel as though I could have done better. Just joking, you keep that to yourself. And yeah, man, tag me in your photos and follow me on Instagram at shotsbyalu.1. And also hit up the website and check out my work at shotsbyalu.com. Subscribe and stay tuned for more videos. Peace.